Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Thursday, December 21st, 2017. My name is Thomas Hunt, and here's what's happening today in Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin took quite a tumble, all the way down to $13,300 before recovering to a current price of $14,880. As you all know, as it's written in The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, the phrase "don't panic" is featured on the cover of the guide, partially because the device looks so insanely complicated to operate, and partially to keep intergalactic travelers from panicking. It is said, despite its many glaring and occasionally fatal inaccuracies, the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy itself has outsold the Encyclopedia Galactica because it is slightly cheaper and because it has the words "Don't Panic" in large, friendly letters on the cover. Arthur C. Clarke has said that Douglas Adams's use of "Don't Panic" was perhaps the best advice that could be given to humanity. If we look at the crypto market cap today, we see that Bitcoin is down 14.5%, Ethereum down 13%, Ripple turning it around, up 29%, the only bit of green on our top 8 board that we're looking at right now. Ripple is at $1.24, up from 25 cents just a few days ago. Bitcoin Cash down 25.5%, $2,728. Litecoin down 13%, Cardano 13% down, IOTA down 22%, and Dash down 22% as well. When you try to buy the dip, but it just keeps dipping. Let's see if we can get this to play. Nope. No animated GIFs for you, but still, it's the thought that counts. Let's see. Does it work now? Oh, that's gotta hurt. Oh, and another one. Been there. We had a great interview today on CNBC. Elizabeth Stark from Lightning Labs was featured, and she explained to them that the other side's idea of scaling is just to add more roads, but their plan is to add the ability to teleport, which sounds much better than just adding more roads. Coinbase halts Bitcoin Cash transactions, admits accusations of insider trading. Many on Reddit are now saying that it's possible that the Bitcoin Cash crew drove the price of Bitcoin up in kind of a synchronous activity with the media, and the media loves bubbles. They love to report on bubbles and they love to pop bubbles. That they drove the price up, caused a bubble, then deflated the bubble, switched their money, started selling Bitcoin, started buying Bitcoin Cash. And then there's this whole confusing way that Coinbase rolled it out, not telling anyone about it, changing their mind at the last minute from just having withdrawals to having full Bcash access. It's very strange. And then, of course, the Reddit announcement 2 hours before Bcash, as well as the pump 2 hours before. Many are saying that the API exposed that they were about to do this upgrade, and many of the API traders were able to get on it early. Or maybe someone had a friend inside the company, according to the Reddit post. But no matter what it is, there's something very strange about this Coinbase Bitcoin Cash launch, and it may just be holding down the price of Bitcoin. When we look at crypto, watch crypto WAT.ch, we see that Bitcoin's down, Ethereum's down, BCH is down, the futures are down. It's a board full of down today. Can anyone in the chat give me some green other than Ripple? Oh, here we go. Lisk is up 20%. Something called MLN is up 11%. Bits, whatever that is, a little bit. Here's MadeSafe is up 5.5%. Stratus up 6.6%. Doge is still a thing. And of course, Ripple is up 24%. So I'm going to ask you in the chat right now, with Coinbase investigating and halting their trading again, what's causing the dip in Bitcoin? What's causing the price to go back up? I know yesterday they had a major run up in Bitcoin Cash. People think that when people sell Bitcoin, they buy Bitcoin Cash and vice versa. They're saying in the chat that Doge Doge is the one that caused the price to go up. I don't know if any of you watched my, Doge Burning Man video from a few years ago, but it said Doge spelled backwards is EGOD. Doge spelled backwards is EGOD. That's true. Look that up. They're saying I should get Parabolic Trav on the show. Would love to. Probably need him to follow us, send us a message. That'd be great. Is this just not the correction that everyone expected to collect a couple of weeks ago? It certainly does feel like the correction that we were expecting. Looking at the larger chart, we're down about 22% over the week. So that is a pretty severe correction. We were at 100%. Now we're 22% lower. So that's been wild. I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat are saying that we should boycott Coinbase. They're saying that once again, Coinbase is not a responsible partner. And I agree. I thought Coinbase was really a confusing service when they had Litecoin, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. Now they have Litecoin, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and Bitcoin Cash. It hardly seems like they have the kind of informational necessary to inform people on what to buy. And a lot of people are just buying the cheapest one. We're not sure. They're saying, okay, here's a good question. Why did Bitcoin Cash go up to 9,000? Now, first, a little bit of detail. I believe it was only on the GDAX exchange that it went up to 9,000. So what I'm hearing in speculation is that GDAX didn't have enough Bitcoin Cash for sale, so that people sold all of their Bitcoin Cash. Then there wasn't any on the market, so the market went way up. But so it was a lack of supply, and it was only one exchange that happened on. It's also possible that most of the potential or the alleged insider trading was taking place on that exchange. So if they were hitting it harder than the other exchanges, traders might have ignored that exchange and went for the other ones. So people are still arguing about the name. I think that Bcash is a shorter version of the name. I think shorter versions of names are usually superior. I also think that there is brand confusion between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. So to avoid brand confusion and to help you know faster what I'm talking about, generally I'm going to use Bcash. I don't intend it as a slur. If you take it as a slur, that's fine. You could do that. But looking at the rest of the chat, they say it's doubtful. They're saying Coinbase is manipulating the market. What about Bitcoin Dark? I think that became Dashcoin, and Dashcoin went way up. So everything seems to be way up. If we look back at Coin Market Cap, even though we're down for today, these things are all crazy up overall. Ethereum at $734, Ripple at $1.24, Litecoin 283. These are just incredibly way up from where they were before. So everyone else, okay, they're saying don't disrespect things. Don't call Raj, even though it's shorter. What about B Diamond? I think that's just another one of these altcoins, just like Bcash was. I was a little bit more interested in B Gold because I don't necessarily disagree that we need a proof of work switch. Unfortunately, I think B Gold was started by a company that wants to mine B Gold. So it's a bit of a conflict of interest there. They're the ones programming it. They're the ones mining it. But that's the same thing about Bcash. Bcash was made presumably by the Chinese miners who are now mining it, who are also the only ones who accept it. You can buy Bitmain miners with Bcash. That's the main use of Bcash right now, as far as I know. So they're saying, excuse me. They're saying Bcash is only up 78% this month. They're saying B Gold is trying to usurp the brand. Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Bitcoin forks this year. I definitely agree with Jimmy Song's presentation where he had about a dozen different Bitcoin this, Bitcoin that. Remember, part of the issue here is that Bitcoin as an open source project with a mysterious creator, Bitcoin isn't copyrighted. So it's perfectly okay from a copyright perspective to name your coin Bitcoin IOTA, Bitcoin Cardano, Bitcoin Litecoin. You can just take the name. But it doesn't mean that you're Bitcoin. It doesn't mean that you have censorship resistance or the brilliance of the Bitcoin team that can solve these kinds of complex problems. They're saying Roger Ver is a way for the rich to get richer and the poor to get poorer. I thought Bitcoin was a way to get away from insider trading since the 2008 financial bubble. Not so sure about getting away from insider trading. I know that the original article in the Coinbase by Satoshi was a negative article about the potential for bailouts for the housing market and the disaster that the housing market and the housing crisis put onto people. As you all know, the housing they rolled up the loans inside of boxes, and they would roll all the bad loans together, and then they would say it's a box full of good loans, and you couldn't look inside unless you bought the box. And this whole spreading around all this bad paper designed as good paper screwed up the whole market. So, does Bitcoin solve that? In a way, you can tell what money people have, and if someone sends you money, you could tell if they have more money in your account. But it doesn't really solve the insider trading thing. A lot of, not to say a lot of Bitcoin is insider trading, but there's a lot of people who believe there are large whale groups and team groups and groups of large money managers who are moving the Bitcoin price behind the scenes. Many people think there's a group that goes around and pumps the altcoins, as we see things like Feathercoin or Dogecoin, which were, wonderful and fun projects, but kind of not very active recently, having huge pumps. We say, oh, there must be an organized pump group. And maybe there's an organized pump group taking Bitcoin down and pushing it back up. But as we're watching it right now, the price of Bitcoin's recovering to 14,757, quite up from a low of 13,300, which we were at just earlier. I'm not seeing it on this chart, but on one of the other charts, I did see a double bottom. There was a W for winter, and it looked like we had really tested this 13,000. But looking at this chart right now, we only have the single bottom. So not sure if the bottom's in, not sure if we're going up a little bit or if we're going back down, but we're watching the price of Bitcoin. It's 9:12 p.m. here on the West Coast. Just ask everybody to give us a thumbs up and a share. We've got about 547 live viewers. And if it's your first time here, please subscribe down below. If you've got a question for us, let us know in the chat, and we'll see if we can answer it. Otherwise, we'll be on the way in here towards the end of the show. Say we should zoom out. Zoom out. Looks like we've got a possible decision candle there. Kind of a fat doji. Zoom out a little more. All right, they say if you held your private keys to Bitcoin when it forks, you can split. That is true. If you had your private keys before the Bcash split, you have both Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash in your wallet. You just need a tool like Trezor and Ledger have a splitting tool. Some other sites have a splitting tool as well. The same thing, you also have Bitcoin Gold, although personally I haven't claimed that one. I have heard Trezor and Ledger both have Bitcoin Gold splitting tools. I'm not sure how you get Bitcoin Diamond yet. Once again, these forks are going to keep happening. When you think about your Bitcoin and what you really own is you own a key to a padlock on a network. And when someone comes along and makes a copy of the entire Bitcoin network, they also make a copy of your padlock. So now your key that unlocks, say, your one Bitcoin on the Bitcoin network will now unlock your one Bitcoin Cash on the Bitcoin Cash network, or it would unlock your one Bitcoin Gold or your one Bitcoin Diamond, all of those kind of things. So that's how these hard forks work. They make a copy of all the padlocks, but they can't make a copy of all the keys because they don't have them. There was an interesting idea recently that I think it was Jeff Garza came up, where he was going to take all the keys to all the Satoshi coins. As you all know, a lot of the early coins mined by Satoshi are just sitting there. Some think that Satoshi didn't even save the keys, that it was just a computer programmer type test thing where he's just testing the network. Others think he purposely destroyed the keys or purposely saved the keys. Either way, those coins don't move. They're kind of inactive coins. And Garzik's new idea is to claim all those inactive coins and give them to his own foundation, which then shockingly would invest in altcoins. So it was called Bitcoin United. I guess it's still going on, but it was such an interesting idea. Just claim all of Satoshi's coins. Then the question became, which one of these coins would he claim? Like, how inactive does a coin have to be? And everyone started freaking out because a lot of people just leave their coins there. They look inactive. People say we should do our own research on BCH. And again, this is the idea that BCH is Satoshi's original vision and that we should all have cheap transactions forever. And I'm not so sure about that. I mean, I think that, yes, it's in the title of the paper, but I think that it's more important to have a network of value and a store of value, and that Bitcoin is that store of value, and that we will see more transactional use for Bitcoin on the second layer with Lightning and maybe the third layer. I think the real problem here is that we have to think of Bitcoin more like a transportation system with no boss. So there's no one to tell us what to do and to give us the budget and to give us the rundown on which tunnels we're going to build and which highways we're going to upgrade. And this transportation system was left to us with no boss. So the programmers around it, in a scientific fashion with an open source mailing list and a BIP process, began to debate the ideas on how we could enlarge this network. And obviously, the first idea was that we could just add more blocks and we could have wider lanes and we could have more lanes on our freeway. And this is a great idea. It's really simple. We have more blocks, but the problem is if we keep adding more blocks, it makes it really difficult to run a Bitcoin node. And if we keep adding more blocks, it makes it almost impossible for anyone to download a new Bitcoin wallet client and really to have the entire blockchain. And it makes it very difficult to have the blockchain spread out all over the planet, which might make it difficult to have censorship resistance Bitcoin. And one of the big things about Bitcoin is that you could send it to WikiLeaks or another unpopular organization. And that's something that we can do with cash. If you take $20 and drop it in somebody's bucket or put it in an envelope, send it to somebody, they can cash it, they can use it as cash. And that's what Bitcoin is supposed to be. It's money that doesn't make any choices about the wallet that it goes into. It's not money that's like, oh, I'm, libertarian money, or I'm a left-wing money or right-wing conservative money. I can't support left-wing causes. No, it's just money. It supports any kind of cause you send it to. That's good money. So in order for Bitcoin to maintain that way, we can't make the blocks big forever. It's not going to have that same censorship resistance. So because of this, we have to think of the problem in a more complex manner. And the problem is that the simple solution is simpler. It is a lot simpler just to add more blocks and build more roads, but it's not going to get us where we're going. So the complex solution that they came up with after some thought and work was to have a second layer onto Bitcoin, the Lightning Network, and that you could then open a payment channel, maybe send $40 of Bitcoin to the Lightning Network, then use the Lightning Network to send your $40 around in smaller amounts, like single dollar amounts, using a network kind of like telephone, where you would hand the money to someone who hands the money to someone else who hands it to someone else, and then they pay your Starbucks bill or whatever. And that this would be a great way to actually scale Bitcoin where it doesn't increase the size of the blocks, it doesn't threaten the network with the nodes, and it makes it so people can still download full wallets. So it's a more complex solution, and it does take more study to figure out. But I think it's a better solution, and I think it's safer. The problem with the difficulty that the core team and that the Bitcoin team is facing is that we're trying to fly an airplane and we're trying to do maintenance on the airplane and we can't land. We're like that bus in Speed. We have to keep going above 55 miles an hour or else the whole experiment stops. Because of this, if we do something like make the blocks really big and the really big blocks screw up the network, we could crash the whole bus. And from a core developer perspective, that can't happen. You can't let the whole bus crash. I think that's why they took so long to come up with the solution they did. That's why they worked on it so hard, and that's why we have SegWit and we're building towards the Lightning Network. So I really think that's a solution to SegWit and to the scaling problem. And like a real solution, not like a patchwork, like we added a couple more drives or we put 10 more servers on the problem. It's a smart solution, and you might have to think about it a while. You might have to study it more. But that's what I would say. That's my take on the Bitcoin Cash and the scaling solution. So I would stick with Bitcoin. Again, with these price moves, like I tried to tell people last week or a few weeks ago, I said that, if you didn't get out before, Like, you didn't just open up your browser and say, "Oh, it's done, I'm out." Well, now you can't get out now because you're in the middle of it. So it's better to wait and let it resolve and see how it turns out. Then again, if you've invested too much money and you need to get your funds out, then that's something you have to do. But don't panic. If you liked Bitcoin last week, you'll like Bitcoin this week. And we're going to keep this live exchange going right now. I'm going to be right back. Just hold on and watch this chart. All right. Maybe just a few more questions and we're going to end this out. I just want to make sure that no one's panicking at home. There's no reason to panic. This is just another dip in Bitcoin. It's exciting, it's fun. Remember, you shouldn't have more money than you can afford to lose in Bitcoin. If you have invested too much, it's okay to sell some, but otherwise, you can hold. Let's see, they're saying in the chat, Lightning needs bigger blocks. Well, if we do need bigger blocks for the Lightning Network, we can do it in a slow and reasonable fashion. I don't think that you've proven that there's some big rush of Bitcoin transactions that we need to have suddenly to have so many more transactions for that. So let's see. This guy says we should look at his address. They're saying the central banks are buying in. People are still scared. We may be seeing some shorting from the CME and the CBOE. Other people are saying price down, pick up. A lot of people are asking for that dip. They're like, when's Bitcoin going to dip so I can buy some? And this just might be it. It's difficult. Let's see. They say, does 13.3 look like a bottom? It does. It looks like a bottom right now, but we don't know. It's only been tested once right here. If we look back to here, this was the previous level of support at 12,737. A little bit more here around 1369 and up a little bit to 13,600. Previously, we were around here. So this does look like a support point for Bitcoin. Going previous, if we went back further, we might see 10,500, and we might even see 9,000. That would be a big one. Let's see. So there it is. They're saying it's possible we could go to 12,000. They're saying, when's Goldman going to start buying? Well, a lot of us had thought that institutional money was starting to pour in, and maybe even government was starting to pour in. But when we do have large dips like this, you would expect the institutional or government money to attempt to buy it up. So the fact that we're not seeing a buy up right now means that the money is either not there or that the money is confused and the money isn't sure if it's time to buy or not. Or maybe the money isn't sure if the thing is still a good thing to buy. Nobody knows. Although it is, like Andreas and many others have been saying, it's the same Bitcoin that you bought last week. It's the same 21 million units. It's the same 99% mined out by 2032. And it's the same one that everyone's going to be fighting over next year when it's almost impossible to get one. So that is. They're saying Bitcoin at 13,000 will be a fall down. They say we want it to dip more so we can buy some. They want to see the depth chart. All right, well, send me a link to a depth chart. Is that like a submarine thing? Can we bring Roger in for a debate with a Bitcoin developer? Well, that wouldn't be that fair because Roger's not a developer. He's not a very technical guy. And we did have Roger on the Mad Bitcoin show not too long ago when we were talking about scaling. We tried to get the entire side of Roger's side. And the main thing that we saw there is Roger believes that there is a haste problem. Roger believes that there are many more transactions waiting to use the Bitcoin network that are not using it because the blocks are too full and the prices are too high. And that if we could get rid of these problems, that Bitcoin would take off. That was my understanding of Roger's position. I believe that yes, there's a scaling potential problem in the future, but we're not there now. I don't really believe that there's some big company waiting to use Bitcoin if only it had more transactions. And I disagreed with the haste part of that argument. So, but it was interesting to hear Roger's ideas. They're saying Litecoin to 10K. They bought Ethereum at $800. Oh, ouch. To say Roger's a merchant advocate, that Roger's experience with memory dealers is actually using Bitcoin as a transactional currency, and he's seeing that start to fall off as it becomes a store of value, and that's not working for him. So saying Roger's rage quit network, rage quit video is hilarious. I do use the Bitcoin network. Usually on Airbits, I'm able to send with low fees on the low transaction fee. It takes a little bit longer. I have noticed the network is very crowded recently. It is more difficult to do transactions, but remember, Bitcoin's been on CNBC almost every day this week. Bitcoin was on the radio. Bitcoin was on the news. We're experiencing a lot of popularity. So at a certain point, that is going to even hit the Bitcoin network. I have seen on places like Coinbase where they don't let you choose the fees. It can be very difficult to use Bitcoin because you'll have to send like a $15 fee. And if you're sending less than $15 or less than $30, even, it makes no sense. Yeah, the Elizabeth said that Coinbase had a developer working on Lightning. I agree. That was a excellent news to hear that. Good on Coinbase. I know BitPay always had usually a core developer around. Blockstream has a couple of core developers, but it's great if they could work on Lightning and get that working on their system. We'd also like to see SegWit from the Coinbase system rather than see them add Bitcoin Cash. It's really sad. Coinbase is, we've seen this for a while. We mentioned it years ago, but Coinbase is really starting to go down the direction of Cryptsy, where they just want to launch every coin and they're not necessarily saying that this is a blue chip coin or this is a good coin. They're just saying, we're offering you a lot of coins. And the more and more you felt that from Cryptsy, the more you felt like they were going to exit scam. And then they did exit scam. So Coinbase could be a really simple way to buy Bitcoin. They could just sell the Bitcoin on there. But as it is right now, when I send my friends or family there, they always end up buying something cheaper. They tell me that the way they read the interface is that it didn't tell them that you could just buy $20 worth of Bitcoin, that you could get a 0.001 or whatever it is, and that the interface led them to believe that Litecoin and Ethereum and now Bcash were cheaper. So they were good buys. And again, they're not. I don't. It's not on Coinbase to educate someone all about the coins and to tell them this or that, but they could have a couple of paragraphs. They could have a picture of the logo. They could have more information than they currently have, and they could have a button that you could click to read more and have a whole information page. This is what Litecoin is, and this is what it's used for. But they just seem to have less than that. So I'm not so sure about Coinbase anymore. A lot of people are hoping that Square and Square Cash will be a nice, simple way to buy Bitcoins. We hope so. I really think the interface needs to be one of those scan the credit card things. Scan the credit card, tell it you want $20, push OK, done. You bought Bitcoin. But they seem to make it much harder for I don't know why. See, a lot of people are negative about Coinbase. There's a fear that Coinbase might not be solvent. This is just a rumor. I don't know anything about this. I'm not speculating this, but it is always possible with a Bitcoin institution. We talked about this idea years ago that you could publish a provable a proof of reserve on Bitcoin, that you could go to the account and you could see how much money they actually had and how they're moving it around and all the inner workings of the exchange. And if you were a company like Chain Analysis, maybe you could go in and analyze that, make a graph and make a chart and see everything. And we thought it would be really cool, but it never happened. Kraken promised it for a while, but I'm not sure how easy it was to do. Other people, as soon as they point to where the reserves is, everyone starts speculating about whether they'll be hacked and why they're keeping all their money in one address. A very dangerous idea. But we would like to see more proof of reserve systems in the future, maybe spread out. A lot of people are also curious why Coinbase previously would send Bitcoin from a Coinbase account to another Coinbase account without charging a fee. They had kind of an internal system for sending Bitcoin. Many are saying that no longer works, that Coinbase is now charging the fee even if you send it internally. So that's an interesting change. Remember, Coinbase also used to cover your fees when you're sending externally because they were so low, but they changed their system and now uh, you have to pay the fee, which you'd think they'd have to have a low, medium, or high fee option, something for the people, but they don't. Which is fine if you're sending around lots of money, but doesn't really work if you're sending around a smaller amount. All right, unless there's any more questions in the audience, we're going to look towards ending this out. Just want to make sure everybody's doing all right. We did have a dip down to 13,300, but we're back at 14,400 now, which still is pretty good. If we zoom out some more on the chart, we can see that we're back to where we were on December 10th, a mere 11 days ago. So we've given up 11. They're saying Andreas is on CNBC, or do they want Andreas on CNBC? Either way, that would be great. Love to see Andreas on CNBC. Again, I would check out the Elizabeth Stark interview on CNBC. A lot of YouTube links of that going around. She was great. Did a great job. Great to hear about Lightning Network on CNBC. I've been hearing a lot about Bcash on CNBC. They say, is Santa gone? Did he break his sleigh during the crash? I don't know. The things I say about this is if it is just a normal, proper correction, the market letting the air out of its tires on its way up, we could see higher highs. We could see 25,000, 32,000, 42. But if this is the sign of something else, and if there is a larger thing going on here between Bcash and Bitcoin, this could be a longer turnout system. They're saying, don't sound sad. We came all the way from 0 to 20K in 8 years. And they're saying, oh, yeah, that Elizabeth wasn't on CNBC. She was on Bloomberg. So now it's funny. We're going from the markets never talking about Bitcoin to being able to say which market covered Bitcoin better. So that's fun, too. Charlie Lee sold all of his Litecoin. Why did he do that? I don't know, it's really strange. I've heard rumors for a while now that Charlie Lee was a billionaire with a B. Congratulations if that's true. I hope he'll get a better camera and microphone, and a suit if that works. No, I think he sold it. People were ragging him on Twitter, and he felt that would make him stop, but they'll never stop. But still, Charlie's got a heck of a coin there in Litecoin. He had a fair launch. It's been around a long time. The technology's good. It's an interesting option for Litecoin, especially with cross atomic swaps. The idea that our computer could set the two prices and say, okay, this matches this and this matches that. Okay, are you ready? Ready? Go. And it could swap without an exchange, without a shapeshift, even in the middle. Just our two computers timing it up. That would be cool to do with Litecoin. Definitely a use case. So interesting to see. They're saying Roger is CIA. I don't know that. That's a rumor you're saying. Charlie Lee is Satoshi Nakamoto. That might be true as well. Bloomberg is like the World Crypto Network. Yeah, a little bit. Again, it's just great to talk about these things. Maybe somebody was right. I don't know, but I think we're about ready to end this show. As always, if you'd like to send us a donation, I guess it's really difficult now, but if you had a wallet that did batching, like the ProTip wallet at protip.is, you could send donations to multiple addresses and send them all off the same fee. So that would work. Otherwise, just give us a thumbs up and a share. Be sure to subscribe down below. And we'll be back probably tomorrow morning with another episode of Today in Bitcoin. If not, we'll probably be back with the Bitcoin group a little later on if I can get it written and manage to round up some people on this holiday weekend. And I hope it's not too cold where you are. The price of Bitcoin is $14,331. And until next time, bye bye.